Did you know that Christian Zionism is actually about punishing the Jews? I mean, if you really truly understand it dispensationally and you understand what the true teaching is all about. Let me explain it to you. You go back into the 1600s, right around the time of the English Civil War, with Oliver Cromwell and the members of Parliament. And what they did is, King Charles I had banished, I don't know if it was him that had done it, but it was under his reign, the Jews were still banished from England. Jews were not allowed to come into England. And so, Charles I was dethroned and then he eventually decapitated. And the members of Parliament readmitted the Jews. And a lot of the clergy back then that were dispensational, 200 years before John Nelson Darby ever showed up, and they dealt with there was a Jewish rabbi, I think his name was Manasseh ben Israel, and they brought the Jews back in, and this rabbi, he said, well, you know, we need to be able to bury our people outside of the town. We want to use usury. England lived to regret that one. And they allowed this guy to come back in and the Jews to come back to England. And it was during that time that a lot of the pastors and things were coming out and they were saying, yes, let's get the Jews back here, because they wanted to see the kingdom come, the millennial kingdom come. Interesting. They weren't in it, in other words, to the Satan's little season dorks. But they wanted to bring the kingdom in, and they knew that Israel had to return to their land before that could happen. And you can read Dispensationalism before Darby if you want all the quotes to prove it, from historic sources, from a history professor. Went to England, actually traveled there and saw the original source documents proving this. But Christian Zionism did not start with John Nelson Darby. And anytime you see that online, you know that you're being lied to. But what was the point of Christian Zionism, wanting the Jews to go back to the land of Israel? Why? So that they could go there, and then the time of Jacob's trouble would happen, and, you know, which people would call the Great Tribulation. The books of Daniel and Revelation would be fulfilled, in other words. And then Jesus Christ would return, then there'd be the millennial kingdom. But anybody who studies the scriptures in depth, understands dispensational theology, they would say, yes, the Jews have to return to their land before the 1,000-year kingdom, whether you're post-millennial or premillennial. The church brings in the millennial kingdom, or Jesus Christ returns and brings in the millennial kingdom, which is the right one. But either way, the Jews have to be in their land before the 1,000-year kingdom shows up. They are brought back in unbelief. That has to happen. So all this stuff of, oh, you're pro-Jew and whatever else, and a lot of the, because you believe that the Jews should be in their land, well, understand that, yes, it is a pro-Jew type of belief, but it's so that they can be brought back so God can then separate the wheat and the tares. God is going to punish the nation of Israel through that whole system. And there are a lot of Jews that understand this. And that's why there are a lot of Jews that right now are fighting tooth and nail to stay here in America, because they're trying to go against the scriptures. Ben Shapiro is one of them. Can't stand that guy. Little nasally, little whiny, just, you know. Well, I think the thing here that we really need to understand, you know, just like if you pinch your nose, you can talk like Ben Shapiro, you know. I think the thing that we need to understand here is that we I can't listen to the guy. Oliver likes him. He likes him a lot. Ben Shapiro, he wants to have a poster. No, I'm just kidding. Of Ben Shapiro's face on his wall or something. Yeah, but I don't think so. But yeah. But he's fighting this whole thing. Oh, there's a civil war in MAGA right now. The MAGA, the right-wing conservative civil war. Why? Because people are starting to realize that Israel might not have the best interests of America. Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, the Bible says that the Jews are going to be brought back to their land. Ezekiel chapter 36. And it's in Isaiah and Jeremiah as well. We're going through those books of the Bible right now in our nightly devotions, our nightly Bible reading time. And it's all through there. God wants the Jews to go back to their land so that he can fulfill the scriptures. The scriptures there, the new covenant is coming. The new covenant was not brought in with Jesus Christ. The New Testament was brought in with Jesus Christ. The death of the testator. Hebrews chapter 9 speaks of this. But the covenant is when all Israel shall be saved. That comes at the second coming of Jesus Christ. Not before then. Please get that straightened out in your head. I have studies to prove that, going through all the scriptures. I don't care what videos you've seen on YouTube. If they are saying that the new covenant is here, switching this way. If they're saying that the new covenant is here, they're wrong. They're wrong. They're just flat out wrong. Okay? The new covenant has not come in yet. The New Testament has. Please understand that. And so, oh, the church has replaced Israel and whatever else. That is the dumbest thing that there is. The church has not replaced Israel. All right? If that's the truth, then God's wrath is coming on the church, on his own body. Okay? A little bit of a sadomasochistic thing there. You kind of a little bit of papal thing. You're going to go around whipping yourself or something. Like the guys doing the, what is it, Philippines or something? Remember that video? Those guys had those chains with the flails thing, and they're whipping their backs, and there's blood running down their back. Yeah, walking down the street. Then they're putting them on crosses and things. The crazy pagan Catholic thing that they were doing over there. I mean, it's just disgusting. If you have never heard of that, look it up. It's horrifying. But hey, I guess that's what a lot of the Christians are out there, that think that the church has replaced Israel. No, God's wrath does not need to be poured out on his church, on his body. God's not a sadomasochistic either. Just wanted to say this thing because I see this thing of dispensationalism and Christian Zionism. It's pro-Jew. Well, there are people within it that claim to be dispensational and understanding that the Jews need to go back to their land, but it's for blessing or some kind of thing. It's not a blessing. Okay, I mean, there is somewhat of a blessing there because God's going to save the remnant, but of the Jews, the ones that are true, not the mingled synagogue of Satan, MSOS as we like to call them. But you know, there's going to be a tremendous amount of judgment that comes upon these people, and that's the whole point of the time of Jacob's trouble. That's the whole point of the book of Revelation, the revelation of Jesus Christ. So just wanted to put this out because I'm seeing just this intense campaign of people that are coming and saying, you know, that Christian Zionism is pro-Israel and all this other stuff. And well, there are people that might be in it that are, you know, not telling the whole truth. But for those of us that are understanding that the Jews need to go back to their land and whatever, and they're going to do a lot of evil once they get there, because a lot of them aren't even Jews. You have to remember that too. They're not even ethnically Jewish people, and they don't have the religion of the Jews in terms of, you know, the Old Testament system. They have created this new Talmudic type of evil system. I'm not for those people, but hey, if they want to claim that they're Jews, then they need to go over there. If you're going to claim to be a Jew, whether the black Hebrew Israelites or the white people going around saying Yeshua, Yahasha, Washa, Washa, and all this other stuff, if you're going to do that, then you need to go to Israel, because God's promises for blessing on the Jews and his future plans for the Jews, the new covenant that comes in, it's all about the land of Israel. It's all about that particular piece of property over there. Okay? You know, and I saw Mark Dice the other day. I saw one of his videos, and he's got major issues, but he said, oh, I guess God is a racist because he picked one ethnic group of people above all the others. No, actually, it's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible does not teach that, which he knows. But coming out with some kind of a stupid thing like that to try to prove that God's done with Israel, that's a real desperate piece of lying. Okay, God is no respecter of persons. That's true. But there is an Abrahamic covenant. All right? God did make a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their physical descendants. And you can't get away from that. Jesus Christ came to the nation of Israel. All right, he came to his own, and his own received him not. All right, so yes, God is no respecter of person when it comes to salvation, but God has not lied. God has not broken his promise to Abraham. All right, there will be a new covenant. It's coming in the future. All right, so I'm going to link a bunch of studies here at the end of the video to help you with the doctrinal teachings and things here. And I know I'm not exciting. I don't use a lot of fancy, you know, animation or artificial intelligence generated things or whatever else to get my points across. I just stand there reading from a Bible. It's so boring. You know, but if you want the truth, that's where you're going to find it. Not with a bunch of stuff intending, you know, that's designed to manipulate your emotions and lead you into, you know, lies and deception. So, all right, need to go in, get some things done here. So, Oliver here is going to go in and watch a couple Ben Shapiro videos and Daily Wire stuff and whatever. Right?
The easily congested, permanently congested pencil and the mouse Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. So, anyhow, all right, I guess that'll be it. Like I said, here's some videos at the end, and watch those if you want to learn the truth. But if you want to just be a liar, then put your lies in the comments section, and I'm not going to waste my time watching your videos. Answer the matter before you hear it. Dealt with that for years. But that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching.